Hi, I'm Parikshit Luthra. The top story we are tracking this evening. The Middle East is on the edge, with global jitters on how Iran will react to the killing of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. In fact, the US has warned that Iran could attack Israel with no warning within days. Earlier this week, the United States, the UK, France, Germany and Italy called on Iran to stand down its threats of a military attack against Israel. What could be the ramification of such an attack? Firstly, an Iranian attack could jeopardize any progress made on a ceasefire deal between Israel and the Hamas. A potential Iranian attack could trigger a wider regional war, with other nations and terror groups joining the regional war. Secondly, a wider regional conflict could increase global crude prices and tighten oil supplies. Any US embargo on Iranian crude exports could impact 1.5 million barrels of oil supply per day. Thirdly, a disruption in the Strait of Hormuz could affect the global economy, spike inflation and hike shipping costs as well. Now, Hormuz is located strategically between Oman and Iran, connects the Persian Gulf with the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea. 30% of the world's seaborne oil trade passes through this critical channel, and 70% of the oil supplies flowing through this channel go to Asia. Fourthly, halting trade through Hormuz is a leverage that Iran has, which can also hurt allies like China and India. The Indian economy could be significantly impacted due to any disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz, as 2/3 of India's oil imports and half of the LNG imports come through the Strait of Hormuz. The IEA, the International Energy Agency, in 2019 had said that the tensions in the Strait of Hormuz will have the biggest impact on India. Lastly, tensions in the Red Sea could further lead to a hike in air freight, logistics costs, insurance costs for India. Experts will be watching out for any impact on the Chabahar port, a vital trade corridor for India, Iran and Afghanistan as well. Joining me now to take this forward are Kobbi Shoshani, Consul General of Israel to Midwest India. Mr. Shoshani, thank you very much for joining us on the program. Let me begin by asking you, how is Israel gearing up for any retaliation from Iran in the days to come?
First of all, I would like Mr. Luthra to say happy 78th Independence Day of India. It was a very happy day yesterday for India and, of course, Israel, because we got more or less the same age going after the Raj and the British mandate. Concerning your question, it's really, and I've heard the introduction, I think it's very, very clear. It's we're not seeking for war, and I don't think that there is a reason to do a war. Definitely not because of anti-terrorists like Ismail Haniyeh or others that actually some say that Israel made it. I don't have the information about it. I'm sure that India take into consideration the result. They saw the capability, the Israeli capability, along with the allies that you mentioned before, United States, UK and France, the capability of intercept missiles. And more than that, I think that everybody knows our ability also to react. And I think that our Prime Minister make it very, very clear.
Right. What I would also like to ask you is that when we look at the Gaza Strip, we are getting reports that Israel military is seeking evacuation of areas which were earlier humanitarian zones. Give us a sense of the focus of Israeli operations right now.
First of all, I think that we are in the third stage of the war right now. I think that the Gazan understand what is the capability and what is the Israeli power. We still have 115 hostages in the Gaza Strip. And according to the intelligence information, we are acting accordingly. We have still dozens of tunnels that bringing missiles and ammunition into Gaza, and we are acting accordingly. Of course, according to the international law, war law, and we would like to evacuate the people in order to intercept or to work in these fields of areas that we know that there are terrorists or ammunitions.
All right. Mr. Shoshani, I'll request you to stay with us. Let me also bring in our other guests on the program. We're joined by Anju Gupta, a well-known security expert, and also Major Amit Deri, founder and CEO of Reservists on duty. Let me go across to Anju Gupta first. Anju Gupta, looking at the situation right now, there have been so many messages from the United States over the last few days which indicate that an attack by Iran is very possible. It could happen within the next few days. But at the same time, President Biden yesterday has said that we're possibly not going to see any attack immediately or any retaliation by Iran immediately, which also cool down global oil markets. What is your sense on how will Iran retaliate to what happened with Ismail Haniyeh?
First of all, I'm not sure whether an additional war, which is the direct war with Iran, will benefit Netanyahu or Israel. Yes, for the time being, there may be short-term gains in terms of moving the focus away from Gaza to the new war. USS has assessed that Hamas is really there. Gaza has not become free of Hamas. In fact, the Israeli army is going back into central and northern parts from where they had, they claim to have removed Hamas from. So with this assessment is actually guiding the ceasefire efforts and the two-state roadmap efforts, etc., etc. So there will be a shift from this assessment. There wouldn't be any talk about how Hamas is doing or whether this war on Hamas is succeeding. And yes, it was the effort for ceasefire will be stalled. The other efforts will be stalled. It is for the first time that all the Sunni neighbors have also come together to advocate for a two-state solution. That'll be stalled. But Iran's revenge, I think, is certain. 2 days ago, Iranian official media has issued direct threat, giving out list of very specific targets, which are military targets, which are intelligence targets, really putting it out there that we know where to strike. That does not mean that that is what is going to happen. But yes, Iran will take revenge for certain because that's the way Iran has behaved. But Iran has a very important way of dealing with such situations. Instead of tactical victories, Iran now looks for strategic patience and strategic victories. It's like it did following the killing of IRGC General Soleimani in Iraq in the US drone strike in January 2020. Since then, they have really strengthened their hold over the Middle East. And like this that attack on their consulate in Damascus, which happened on April 1, but they took 15 days to retaliate. So Iran will find ways to get even, or even to restore balance. Or I wouldn't call it balance, restore some kind of a deterrence. I think it's mutual between Israel and Iran. Yeah.
Okay, so it will be probably at a time and date of their choosing. But how do you see India getting impacted immediately? There is going to be a severe economic impact if there is a regional war. But do you think we'll land there? We will go in that direction?
I hope not. War is no good news for anybody, especially the parties involved, because it means loss of life and loss of property and what have you. You've already listed the kind of stakes India has in the Middle East. India will definitely be impacted with more transit and trade routes, sea routes and land routes getting impacted, including, the northern side of Indian Ocean, Persian Gulf, maybe Gulf of Hormuz. And energy supplies will be affected majorly. And let's not forget, India has a huge diaspora in the Gulf region. And most importantly, India's own plans for India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor, will have to then wait if a broader war breaks out in the Middle East.
Right. Major Deri, if I can come to you, and thank you so much for joining us on Global Eye. We're definitely looking at a worrying situation at the moment. Do you have any hope from the talks around a potential ceasefire? The US has expressed some hope that there might be some conclusion, some positive conclusion. Do you think we are going to see that?
First, thank you for having me for this discussion, important discussion, because I really believe that India is also affected, greatly will be affected from the war, if it will be a war here in the Middle East with Iran. And the answer is yes. I as an Israeli, we always have hope for peace and security. We don't look in, and we are not seeking for war. It all started, we all know how it all started with Hamas. So I think to the question if there will be a war, it greatly depends on what will be with the negotiation talks. And I believe that our side, the Israeli side, and the Americans, we all want to get a deal that will ensure security, Israeli security and interest in Gaza, because the war, unfortunately, did not end yet. And we have to continue to make sure that Israel will be secure and we have the hostages. So I have hope. But I'm not sure that, like my colleague said, that the Iranians will attack Israel directly. I think the Iranians, it's been almost 2 weeks since Ismail Haniyeh, and they did not attack. They see all this great force that the Americans puts now here in the region, the battleships and the submarines and all the immense power and boots, a lot of boots on the ground, people, soldiers that the Americans also brought to the region, and the involvement of France and Britain and a lot of other countries from Europe. I think they are now stumbling on that decision, whether to attack Israel directly or to send their proxies. Hezbollah, Hamas is almost finished, but they can cause Hezbollah to attack for them. But I think they did not take the final decision.
Right.
They did not take yet the final decision.
Right. But they have also indicated that, yes, revenge will happen, and it will happen at a point very soon. That's what they've left it there as. But Major Deri, what I would also like to ask you, in terms of the larger strategic goals that Netanyahu and the Israel government have right now, because many Israeli experts have also said that the possibility of Israeli hostages being alive right now are rather glim. It's probably difficult. A lot of time has passed. We hope they're all alive and safe, but a lot of time has passed as well. So what purpose is this serving for Israel? One point is that you want to eliminate Hamas completely, but at the same time, it is said you'll not be able to completely eliminate them on the ground. What's your view?
So we will never be able to eliminate all the Hamas fighters on the ground, but we must and we will find Sinwar, and we take him down, and we will definitely we definitely can, as a military power, to make sure that they have the ability, the means to attack us. And by the way, one of the important, in my view, demands of Israel in the negotiations is that we, the military, will stay on the border with Egypt. That was actually the oxygen tunnels of ammunition and missiles inside Gaza, inside Gaza from Egypt and other places, coming from Iran, obviously, most of it. So we definitely can make sure that they will not be able to threaten us with missiles. So that's something we definitely can do. Yes, we can do and we can commit in the negotiations if they will release the hostages. And to your questions, we know, we don't believe, we know that some of the hostages are already dead and are holding the dead bodies of the hostages, some of them since the beginning of the war, October 7th, and some of them during the war. We don't know exactly what are the numbers, but our moral stand in Israel is to make sure that we will bring back obviously the live hostages and also the bodies back to Israel. So we are willing to be very flexible.
All right.
And to do it, yeah.
All right, we're running out of time. One quick question that I'd like to put to Kobbi Shoshani. Kobbi Shoshani, what's the understanding that Israel is expecting with India right now in case this conflict escalates?
First of all, I think that you mentioned before the IMEC. I think it's very, very important for us to open a channel from Israel through Saudi Arabia, of course, United Arab Emirates, Jordan, and of course Egypt and Europe and the United States in the future. It's very, very important for us. I think it's very important for the region, and it's very important for India. By the way, it's also very important for Palestinians, in my point of view. And we have to remember that eventually we are in a very small area It's a big maybe, but it's a very smaller, that everybody reflect the other. And I think the issues of demilitarize Gaza is extremely important. And I think, in my point of view, the war in Gaza, that's my opinion, and I think that it's also the opinion of the government right now, that the war in Gaza is going to bring peace and to prevent the next war. In my perspective, that's very important because the neighbors around us, and I'm talking about Hezbollah in Lebanon, and of course the Yemen, they understand the capability and the power of Israel. Don't do again what's happened in October 7th. This is something unacceptable, and they have to learn the lesson for that.
All right, we've run out of time, but thank you very much, Kobbi Shoshani, the Consul General for Israel in India, Anju, Gupta, and also Major Deri for joining us on the program. It has been an interesting discussion, and let's see how the situation develops in the days and weeks to come. We're taking a short break here on CNBC-TV18, but don't go anywhere. Bangladesh's interim government head Mohammad Yunus dials Prime Minister Modi to discuss the political turmoil in the country, assures protection to minorities in Bangladesh. A detailed discussion on the other side.